Don't want to look like some kind of doorbell dinger.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure communication procedures, Commodore.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
Our fifth objective, a new world order.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no
Vast
West.
right-wing conspiracy.
What do you call it when the assassins accuse the assassin?
A new world order.
Thank you for plugging in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
Well, just a second there, Professor. We fixed the glitch.
I'm your host, Professor Thomas Henry Horan.
He reads everything.
Hello there, you lucky bastards. I'm wearing my favorite ugly shirt. In real life, this shirt is hideous, but it looks great on camera. It really brings out the red in my eyes. I'm going to try something tonight, if I can figure out how. When we go, let me try this. Slideshow, record. Record from current slide. Your media recording device is not set up correctly. Okay.
The very word
It's not recording.
secrecy.
Oh, shit. Let me shrink this controller. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care if it records. Let me look at settings. Isn't this exciting? Imagine what you get when you pay the $10. Oh, that reminds me. Don't worry about 2 subscriptions. Just stay on YouTube. I know what I said. As soon as I said it, I knew what was going to happen. But it wasn't that bad. But I'll be careful. We're switching back to Son of Sam and other cases for a minute anyway. When it comes to really current stuff, like you know who Burger up in Idaho, and you know who 3 down in Arizona, I'm going to lay off for a couple of weeks. There's something exciting happens. We'll just stay classic. The website, you can click the link. It's right now it's free because there's almost nothing on there. I had to go back and redo a couple things. The discussion board and direct messages are coming very soon. It's debugging, whatever. I'm playing with it now. That website will be for doing the research. For my own convenience, I'm going to try to record my slideshow presentations when I live stream because YouTube gives me free transcripts. Then we can take the if you replay a YouTube video, I'll have a built-in YouTube player. The beauty of having them play in my built-in YouTube player is that not only can you turn the closed captions on and off for whatever they're worth, but the transcript will open in a window and it will scroll along with the video. So keep subscribing to the YouTube channel. That's where all the videos are going to be. There will be a small smattering of videos on the premium website that I can't upload anyplace else, and you know which ones those are. Live streaming someday. The first live stream I do will be free, and it will be about Manny's dad. But that's in the future. The website will be for doing research, and it's not. Go ahead and check it out. Go ahead and check it out. Memberships will be free for a while, and then when we start have to pay, you'll have to pay, but it won't be more than $10 a month. And one thing you'll be able to do is you'll be able to, like if I record this slideshow, you'll be able to play it back with the audio. You just won't see my face. And who the hell would want to see my face? I can put those on the premium website. Okay? But I mainly want them because then I can transcribe the clips if I think they're good. Hi, Baby Bull. Hi, Alpine. Hi, Brandy. Ooh, 12 viewers. Happy Friday. So the website, don't think you have to pay for both, and don't pay for the premium website yet. I'll tell you when to pay. But I have to put up a paywall when we run out of freebies. Free trial. It should be plenty. It's going to be a while before we run out of that, okay? Then I'll put up a paywall, but don't pay yet. I'll tell you when there's enough on there to pay for. So I got to upload a ton of stuff. So I'm working on that. But go ahead and log in and tool around on it and play with it. I'll get some stuff uploaded in the next week. And then, I'm just trying to work out a workflow. Do I upload the slideshows first and let you follow along while I do a live stream about it? Because if you put notes on it, and I update the slideshow, we might lose the notes. I've been testing that. So if nothing else, you'll be able to watch the slideshow while I present it, but you won't be able to attach notes. Well, that's frustrating. So let me just figure it out. How the best way to do it. Because one thing to do is there will be a comment window. You can go ahead and put comments. It's just you won't be able to put comments slide by slide. Whether that becomes important or not, because what I want to be able to do is you will be able to take one of my slides and link it to other slides. Not only to help the AI, but you can build your own slideshows. I call them slates. So they'll have like embedded videos, and we have all our own data fields and things we put on there. We've been over this. And then I'm going to make tutorial videos when the thing is perfect. But the live streams will be here on YouTube, so don't cancel your YouTube member subscriptions. You will need those. You will need those. But the website will be a really cool research tool. You can go follow it. Better than a book. I mean, it will do smart searches. You'll be able to search simultaneously. You'll be able to search deep inside all of my YouTube videos, and the search result pops up. That's what I want. You click on that. It opens up that YouTube video in my built-in YouTube player at that timestamp. And there should be the transcript popping up with it. It's going to be that cool. But I don't know how many people are going to use it. I built it for myself to help me sort through all this information I have accumulated. So I thought, why not charge people money to let them see my homework? And you can do your own research. You can keep your own research private. You don't have to share it. Okay, apropos, let's get started here. Whoops. Record, save as show. What does save as show mean? Hold on. PowerPoint, save as show. So it opens directly into presentation mode. Go to File, Save As. Why would I do that? Oh, it just opens up the file as a show. That's not necessary. Okay, I just want to record. Record. Not export to video. Oh, from current slide. Okay, let's try this. I don't care about the camera as long as it records slides. This may not be perfect.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure...
This is going to be so much fun for you guys. Okay, now this thing is too fucking big. That's another problem. And my language is another problem. I really don't need to look at myself so much anymore. But except I do. Let me try this. Is it going to stop recording just because? And now the slide slicker. What the fuck? From current slide. I know. It doesn't minimize for oh, this will help. I think. If I can make this stupid window smaller, that will help a lot. Okay, how do I click the slides? There we go. Now, record the freaking slideshow. That's right, baby bull. That's absolutely right. 3, 2, 1.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure communication procedures, Condor.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
Our fifth objective, a new world order.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third world.
You know what? I don't need to record anything. I don't need to play the theme. It will play automatically when you open the slideshow. Okay, let me do a retake. Retake on current. Retake on all slides. No. No. Stop. Retake. Okay, retake on current slide. Retake on all slides. Okay, hold on. Fuck me. There we go. Record. Stop recording. Stop swearing. Stop recording. Retake. All slides. No. Okay, this episode is going to be about the phony death of Craig Glassman. Advancing to slide 3. See, I say this for the AI, for the transcribing. Okay, slide 5. Let's all remember. Craig Glassman wrote the first book about Son of Sam. This came out before Klassner's book, called Off the Wall. Craig Glassman was the security guard for Wackenhut and some other companies who lived below Berkowitz's apartment on Pine Street. Coincidentally enough, it is not a coincidence, as we will learn. In the newspaper story, key figure in Son of Sam case killed on Taconic Parkway. This supposedly happened Halloween night of 1991, coincidentally when Maury Terry's book was coming out and getting publicity. Glassman was one who was supposedly instrumental in the arrest of Berkowitz. This is a fake death, as I have proven. There is no death certificate. There is a police report of an accident, and the driver is unconscious. That's it, not dead. There is a newspaper story, no photographs of the accident scene, let alone the body, etc., etc., etc. I will show all the evidence I have that this is fake. Slide 6. For example, his widow waited 3 years. I shouldn't be showing you this. This should be members only. Okay. I'll show you that later. We'll come back to that. This is slide 7. See, that's another thing. I have to go back and re-record slide 6 manually now. Perlman, this is slide 7. This is from a police report. Perlman says, this is a private detective named Perlman. Perlman says another private investigator from Westchester has also worked on this with him, and that they know an organization called The Way is behind it. He says it's a pseudo-religious group that purports to teach self-help and revelation and is found on campuses. He said the cult we're looking for is an offshoot of that and that they are using a former military method of mind control known as MK Ultra to control cult readers. He says all victims are connected. He says either they or someone in their families were at mental health facilities, psychologists, etc., where they were exposed to MK Ultra and were killed because they rejected it or someone in their family did. Also, he said, some victims were killed as warnings to other members of their families who had been exposed to it. They were shot at as a warning to members of their families, but it had nothing whatsoever to do with MK Ultra. It has everything whatsoever to do with CIA drug smuggling. That's why the disinformation campaign. Here's where we have private investigators feeding disinformation and misinformation deliberately to the cops, not to the media. This is a pretty far step. To make a long story short, when Berkowitz first got out of the Army, he went to work for IBI Security. I do not know exactly who was operating him there. But things went south with IBI, and Berkowitz quit IBI, and then he starts working covertly for Wackenhut, and Craig Glassman is his handler, his operator. That's the story in a nutshell. But this is an example. This is from a police report. This is an example of these private detectives. They all are very shady. The other PI from Westchester, that is obviously Craig Glassman. Craig Glassman is not lying to the cops. Craig Glassman is lying to Perlman, and then Perlman says, well, I heard this from a PI. This is how you do it without technically getting in jail for lying to the cops. Are you with me? But this is obviously Glassman. And since he's dead, he can't sue me for libel, right? Slide number 8. David Berkowitz, on his way to Texas to get the gun, I'll talk about that in a second, went to Florida, Hollywood, Florida. Speaking of Space Mormons, speaking of Scientology, Hollywood, Florida, and stopped at a way camp. Perlman says this information came from 2 sources. This is Perlman feeding information of different flavors and horses of different feathers to the cops. A lot of it coming from Glassman. Perlman says this information came from 2 sources, someone in the Brooklyn DA's office and from Jultak and Stern. I myself already know he was in Florida, at least visiting his father. According to Perlman's information, David Berkowitz was asked why he had gone to the way camp and replied, because they told me to go there. We only know this because we get this 8th hand from Perlman. But it's completely plausible. Now, here's the thing about him going to Texas to get the gun. Billy Dan Parker supposedly drove, Berkowitz supposedly drove all the way to Houston, Texas to meet Billy Dan Parker and get that piece of junk, Bulldog 44 from Charter Arms. It didn't shoot straight. It was worthless. Why would you drive all the way across country when you could just take a walk through the Bronx or Stuyvesant or any of those neighborhoods, Williamsburg? You could walk around New York City and just pick up all the guns you want off the sidewalks. Why drive all the way to Texas for a pistol that you couldn't hit the broadside of a barn? They were defective. They were manufactured with crooked barrels. That's why so many victims survived. It was just a noisemaker. But that's what the mafia does. They just want to send a message to the family. If the target dies, they die. If they don't, they don't. The message goes to the family. And it's always an offshoot. That's right, Alpine. Okay? But this could be true. The whole point is, east of Houston, if you're going to drive from New York City to Houston, you have to drive through Beaumont, Texas. It's about 45 minutes east of Houston. You have to drive through Beaumont. The only reason I bring it up is because John Carr's ex-wife and little girl lived in Beaumont at that time. For what it's worth. The Way tie-in of membership by the Cars, Glassman, and Billy Dan Parker came from a former Way higher-up named Marie Leonetti and from several police sources, including a PI in Westchester. We're right back to Glassman. He worked for Wackenhut, especially in Florida. We know that we've already proven that. Glassman, they say, was an auditor of Way inductees. Glassman, they say, was an auditor. That is a Space Mormon term. That is a Scientology term of Way inductees. This is on slide number 9. Slide number 9. Going to slide number 10. The funny thing is, at that time, Jeffrey Dahmer was living in Hollywood, Florida. And his prison minister was the same church as that Berkowitz joined in prison, right? I need to double check that. This is slide 10. Roy Ratcliffe grew up primarily in California. This is the Right Reverend. It does not say doctor, but this is the Right Reverend Roy Ratcliffe. No E. Grew up primarily in California. Chico, California, by any chance, after graduating from high school in Wichita, Kansas. I thought he grew up primarily in California. Why did he go to Wichita to graduate? Son, you'll never graduate college here in California, high school here in California. You'll have to go to, you'll have to go to Kansas if you want to graduate. I only bring that up because if he graduated in, let's say, 1966, never mind. Went on to graduate, Ratcliffe went on to graduate from Oklahoma Christian University in 1970. He and his wife Susan have 2 grown children. Ministering to Jeffrey Dahmer, Ratcliffe frequently visited Jeffrey Dahmer in prison and provided him with spiritual counseling, leading him in Bible study sessions. Well, Berkowitz is all born again. All born again. That's why they live so long. He baptized Dahmer as a born-again Christian in prison 8 months before Dahmer was murdered by fellow prisoner Christopher Scarver. That's when Dahmer was living in Hollywood, Florida. He worked at that sandwich shop, and that's when those kids, there were all these attempted abductions, and one of them, the tragic abduction and murder of little Adam, the guy from the Most Wanted show. It's like he got blackmailed into doing that show. Little Adam Walsh. Thank you, Alpine. Little Adam Walsh. When Dahmer was arrested in Milwaukee for murder, his picture flashed on TV, and there were a lot of people, there were several people in Florida who called police and said, that's the guy who tried to snatch me that day at the mall. There were several malls around Hollywood, Florida, and Adam was snatched from one of them. And there was another witness. His name is Morgan. I'm going to have him on the show. He's done some videos. He wasn't a potential victim, but he saw Dahmer at the mall like 15 minutes before Adam Walsh disappeared. Wesley Morgan, what's his name? You guys know who I'm talking about. Anyway, he was at that mall and saw Dahmer because he saw him on TV a couple years later, arrested for murder. No one wants to believe it. No one wants to believe it. Moving right along. Slide 11. So, Glassman and Philip Arthur Thompson both worked for Wackenhut, remember? Thompson and Nichols formed the Cabazon Arms Company. We've talked about this. We'll come back to it. To manufacture weapons in a joint venture with Wackenhut Services, an international security company based in Florida. This was done at the Cabazon Indian Reservation in California, where Cecilia Ann Shepard's grandparents and step-grandparents were the missionaries to the so-called Mission Indians. This is also, it's out at China Lake. It's out at, some of this is abandoned. Sometimes the Air Force uses it, sometimes they don't. This is where they practice dropping the pumpkin bombs. No, it's not where they practice dropping the pumpkin bombs. This is where they installed a lot of the electronics for the Silver Plate B-29s and then for planes later. This was where Mike Riconosciuto went out there and demonstrated Havana syndrome for whoever bought it back there in 81. He was not demonstrating promise. He was demonstrating Havana syndrome. We'll get back to that. Back to the slide. This is slide number 11. The company's brochure said its executives are ex-FBI and CIA agents, as well as former law enforcement officials. Nichols arranged for a demonstration of night vision equipment at Lake Cahuilla near La Quinta for 4 military leaders, presumably from Central America, and that is also where they demonstrated and managed to sell the original prototype for Havana syndrome. It wasn't built for Havana syndrome. Havana syndrome is an unfortunate side effect. That's why the U.S. government canceled the program. It was unsafe. This is about Craig Glassman. He had once worked part-time for Wackenhut as a security guard in Miami, and he had enjoyed the work. He wanted something stable instead of drifting from one job to another, and yeah, he's got a steady job now. He is in the Hoosgow. He's not dead. He is in prison. Well, he was, last time I checked. Cocaine trafficking. What a shock. And he had applied for and taken tests for police work in Dade County. We will come back to Philip Arthur Thompson. What is his connection to the Zodiac Killer? 2 words, Armand Pelicetti. Sean Atwood interviewed Philip Arthur Thompson, crime partner. Not George Gordon Abbott. I always want to call him George Gordon Abbott because I get him confused with Lord Byron, and I should not be confusing the AI with this. John Gordon Abbott, something like that. His name is Abbott. John Abbott, Gordon Abbott, John Gordon Abbott, something like that. Thompson's still in prison. The murder of Valerie MacDonald, for example. Slide 12. Craig had returned to Ardsley to look for a communications job in New York City. Communications? Carl worked in communications. Carl Denaro worked in communications, but the move had been a mistake. After December 1971, when he and Mac got married, Craig had a succession of dead-end jobs. It just felt that way from being married. They moved to Yonkers when Mac, his wife, got a job as a secretary in an architectural firm in New York. She must have known Mr. Real Estate. This was when Donald Trump was very busy. This was when Donald Trump's press releases were all pushing the media to please refer to Mr. Trump as Mr. Real Estate. Remember? He kept calling himself Mr. Real Estate. That doesn't prove anything. Slide 13. This is Craig at Ardsley High School, 1964. I'm not invading Craig's privacy because he's supposedly dead. I believe that's him right in the center, right there. Wait till you see where John Carr, Michael Carr, and Wheat Carr went to high school. I got to dig those up. That's another problem. Slide 14. An obvious reference on the timing of the writing. This is from Police Files. A good deal of it is about Glassman. He did not move into the building until mid-March 1977. Therefore, this is what Maury said. Therefore, if he didn't know Burke, then the writing could not have been put there before then at the earliest. Berkowitz was in the building since April 1976. This leads to something else. The killings began 8 months earlier than March. 5 of the 8, maybe earlier than that. right? Wendy Savino. 5 of the 8 attacks had already occurred as of April 1st. Why, if Sam is the master who ordered the killings, is no writing on the wall prior to that? Why no hate mail to Carr? Why no notes to the cops? This is all lends support to Burke's story. I don't know which story he's referring to, but it lends support to the facts. The facts are that David Berkowitz, when he was first discharged from the Army, worked for IBI security, and he handled guard dogs. Like they had customs facilities at the airport out at the like JFK and LaGuardia. Berkowitz handled the guard dogs. There's another story. A guy knew Berkowitz handling guard dogs. He learned to handle the dogs when he was in the Army. So he hated that job. So he quit IBI. That's when Wackenhut scooped him up, and he started having all these different jobs. And that's when, so like right here, why, if Sam is the master, is no writing on the wall prior to that? All that Son of Sam crap happens. That's a second wave of killing that has nothing to, well, when he worked for IBI, that was when he was driving the limos, the car service for Co-op City Taxi Cab Company. Berkowitz did not have a hack license. He did not drive a hack. But he could drive, he had a chauffeur's license. He could drive the car service or limousines. When he talks about working as a chauffeur / bodyguard, they all are, driving these rich swells out to Long Island for parties at Roy Raden's house, that's when he worked for IBI. He quit IBI. He's under the thumb of Glassman and Wackenhut. Remember, Thane Cesar worked for Wackenhut. No, he did not. He worked for Ace Security. AI, ignore that. Thane Cesar did not work for Wackenhut. But Philip Arthur Thompson did, and Armand Pelicetti was friends with Philip Arthur Thompson, professionally and personally. Wackenhut was the Blackwater of the day. Wackenhut is the PI firm that won the law case. There was the Pinkerton law. Because of Abraham Lincoln, Congress had passed a law that said that no private detective agency could do police work for the government. Wackenhut challenged that case in the late 60s, early 70s, and they won. That was Wackenhut. But this is what they're talking about. They're talking about Berkowitz. Berkowitz gets sicked on the cars. My point was this. When he goes to work for Wackenhut, now his job is to survey the cars. I think. No, he moved in April 76. Why no writing on the wall prior to that? I'll show you. You see a change in the murders, and you see a change in the motive for the murders. The first murders, it looks like it's about heroin smuggling through the blood supply system. The next string of murders, it's all about cocaine trafficking through the nightclub system. That's why there's 2 separate groups of victims. That's why there seems to be 2 separate groups of victim profiles. That's why there seem to be 2 separate MOs. It's because it is two jobs. First he works for IBI, then he works for Wackenhut. Okay? That's the point. I'm a little rusty on my Berkowitz. Troy Lentini worked security at the Westchester parties. Tiny Lentini. Why no notes to the cops? See, all that comes in with Wackenhut. It is possible that, because remember, there was that one article in the New York Daily News that thought they saw a link between 2 of the shootings. It turns out it's just like Zodiac, that it's about the parents, not the kids. But as soon as that article came out, then you get the murder of Suriani and Esau, and that's when the first note is left in the street. And then another note gets mailed to Jimmy Breslin, and who knows how many other notes. That's when Wackenhut takes over. That's when Craig Glassman comes into the picture. But yes, Berkowitz's cryptic statements actually do add up to all of this. He just doesn't fill in the details like I do. Slide number 15. Glassman always claimed that he rode in the car with Berkowitz to the police station as soon as Berkowitz was arrested. And as you can plainly see in this photograph, Glassman is nowhere to be seen in this car. We recognize every single person in this car, and Glassman is not one of them. That's just one of many, many lies he tells. He is not in the car, as you can plainly see. You can plainly see all 5 people in that car. And Berkowitz is none of them. I mean, Glassman is none of them. Slide 16. Did Craig set that? Supposedly, Craig said that there was a trash can outside his apartment in the hallway set on fire. Hi, Gary. Tiny Lentini was an outlaw biker? Remember, supposedly a trash can was set on fire and there was even some bullets in it. And he claimed that this was harassment from Berkowitz and that Berkowitz was crazy and was blaming Craig for this, that, and the other thing. This was the excuse for getting into Berkowitz's apartment the first time. Because Craig also worked as a reserve deputy at the Westchester County Sheriff's Office. Remember Berko and Peter Lavenda, also auxiliary policeman officers? Oh, no, Alpine. No. Remember, okay. How long have you been watching? Don't answer that question. Don't answer passive-aggressive questions like that, Alpine. We're going back through all this stuff anyway. So you've really picked a good time to subscribe. An investigator from the Westchester County Sheriff's Office tried in vain to get a search warrant. He wasn't an investigator. He was a auxiliary deputy helping out with crowd control. Detective Mike Cordella brought Tiny Lentini's name forward. So you guys are more up on some of this than I am. Remember, I had to quit halfway through the files to go do the, be on TV. He claimed he witnessed the murder of Eaton Patz. See, I think that's more disinfo prop. It's only a hunch. It doesn't mean it's garbage. It doesn't mean I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I do want to hear it because I want every scrap to feed to the machine that's going to build us. It's going to build the sculpture of the blob for us. Slide 17. While he was in high school, he had worked summers at the VA hospital in the Bronx. Oh, that's right. Craig and his wife became nurses, and I think they were phlebotomists. Phlebotomists. But I think it's very interesting, BS, Gary. I think that stuff is very interesting. So in 1975, Craig enrolled at the Cochran School of Nursing at St. John's Riverside Hospital. At the same time, he joined the emergency force of the Westchester Sheriff's Department as a volunteer and was promoted to corporal in 6 months. Don't you, if you show up again, you get promoted to corporal, right? Craig had spent time in New York when he was in high school. Slide 19. An auxiliary Stone Park police officer arrested in a federal narcotics sting has been fired and will no longer be able to carry a gun as a village employee, said Stone Park Police Chief Giuseppe Capicione Tuesday. Jesus Herrera, 33, of the 2900 block of North 78th Avenue in Elmwood Park, was arrested December 4th by Drug Enforcement Administration agents. I have never brought them up on the show. I have never brought up Richard Nixon on the show. It is now time. We must now be just in the backs of your minds. I want you to think about Richard Milhouse Nixon and the Drug Enforcement Administration. As you may or may not recall, and I will remind you now, by the 70s, the CIA had been forbidden to operate inside the United States, and the FBI had been forbidden to operate outside the United States, unless invited by a foreign country for case. The only law enforcement agency for many, many years authorized to act both inside and outside the United States was the Drug Enforcement Administration. I believe the Department of Homeland Security is now Nixon was framed, Alpine. But that doesn't mean he wasn't guilty. The Manson family were framed. That doesn't mean they weren't guilty, but they were framed. That's what interests me. Berkowitz was framed. He looks guilty. Why do you have to frame somebody who's guilty? You have to change the narrative. That's why. The Drug Enforcement Administration is the only one. But it was, yeah, I know. Listen, Nixon, I'll do a whole Nixon, the one and only Nixon. We'll come back to that. A lot of this stuff does start because Nixon gets elected. It's one of those things. It's kind of like Wolfie Schicklgruber in a sense that he didn't order this Operation Chaos turbocharge, but people got the signal from him that he would approve of such things, and he did. In general, I don't think he would approve of some of their methods, but when he played hardball. There's no, and the Drug Enforcement Administration was Nixon's cookie. The Drug Enforcement Administration from day one has never kept paper records. The Drug Enforcement Administration keeps all their records electronically. That way, there is no paper trail to be dug up. They can alter records anytime they want, and there will leave no trail. And yes, they were the first. I think they were the first really big customer for Promise software, right? Woodard's book about Belushi? Okay. Have you read Silent Coup? It's a good book. Read Silent Coup. I'm not saying it's the whole story. I'm saying you know nothing about Richard Milhouse Nixon. The website will have pumpkin stickers. When I approve a comment, it gets fed to the AI, and I'll approve pretty much every comment, but you'll get a pumpkin sticker. And you'll be able to cash those in for stones. So some of these auxiliary cops are dealing drugs. And one more time, Peter Levenda and David Berkowitz were in the same auxiliary police outfit. They went to the same high school. Levenda was a senior. Berkowitz was a freshman. Supposedly, this whole case revolves around the Magical Child bookstore in New York City, and Peter Levenda practically lived there and wrote half the books in that library, right? Slide 20. Herrera had been an unpaid auxiliary police officer in West Suburban Stone Park since March. The entry-level position for aspiring full-time officers requires a minimum 16 hours work a month. Unpaid. Auxiliary officers were often assigned to write parking tickets. Craig Glassman was an auxiliary police officer working in one of the 5 boroughs. Craig Glassman had a parking ticket book in his car. Remember all that confusion? It took him 2 weeks to find the parking ticket that crazy lady said they left on his car. Oh, baby bull. Oh, baby bull, baby bull, baby bull, baby bull. Baby bull, baby bull, baby bull, baby bull. Peter Levenda is the pope of all he's the anti-pope. Peter Levenda is the anti-pope of all the dopes. Auxiliary officers are often assigned to write parking tickets or assist with special events. After completing a 40-hour training course, they are allowed to carry guns while on duty. Well, Parsifal only needed 3 days of training. Now, was that Cecilia Davis that said, hey, you gave him a parking ticket? And then they couldn't find the parking ticket? Well, Glassman had a book of parking tickets. And remember, he was trying to frame Berkowitz. This is not... See, here's the thing. We, the public, have been shown... I can't go backwards? 2 different parking tickets. I'll come back to that in another episode. I can't go backwards. We'll talk about this guy. Maybe I should get ready to go members only at this point. So in 5 minutes, we'll go members only. Oh, I need to stop this PowerPoint right here anyway. Okay. When we go members only, then I will, now I can go backwards. I need to anyway. Okay, there are two different versions of this parking ticket. There are two different versions of the parking ticket, and they're both in the official police files. Somebody wrote up a phony parking ticket. Somebody wrote up a phony parking ticket to cover this story. I think, I'm sure he does deny it, Alpine. Well, Peter has been accused of being Simon. That is a fact. Let me do this. This will work. Okay, let me do this really quick. Let me move some slides around. Yeah, we've only just begun. This might be a long members only because I have to get through these slideshows. I have to annotate these slideshows with my voice. But see, listen. Slide 20. Herrera had been an unpaid auxiliary police officer in West Suburban Stone Parks. See, so you'll be able to go through on the premium website, you'll be able to go through these slideshows and because I don't have to start over, which is nice. I can go through and just record one slide at a time if I want to. I might start doing that right now. And then you can go through the slideshow and it will just automatically play the audio and you can be looking at the slide instead of looking at my face. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, so one more time. Don't cancel your subscription to the YouTube. That's where all the live streams and 99% of the videos will be. There will always be a few videos. I'll only put them up on, and there will be like some old documentaries that YouTube doesn't like, and I'll put them on there too. Well, Gary, I think artificial intelligence is going to be able to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. But now, Gary, in a book like, what's it called? Not Ultimate Evil, Sinister Forces. Doesn't it look like somebody took a paragraph of Peter's writing and a paragraph of somebody else's book, and then a paragraph of Peter's writing and a paragraph of all the research came from a completely different book and Peter just puts his little spin on it? I haven't had time to read the book. I'll bet AI could prove that beyond any reasonable doubt. Yeah, it just looked that way to me. Now, Peter did live and work there. Now, he emailed me one time. and I replied. And they never emailed me. 3 of them emailed me at one time. It was a joint email. I wonder if they're still watching my show. Can I record 2 clips on the same slide? Let me try it right now. Record. Record an audio clip. Let me go to a slide that I want to replace the...
We